Alright guys, today I'm going to be tying up my most productive variation of the Rainbow Warrior. I've actually used this in tandem with the Rainbow Warrior and had more success on this fly than the actual Rainbow Warrior. And I'm not exactly sure why because of how close they are in relation. But yeah, on multiple bodies of water that we have here in Colorado that have mysis shrimp, this fly has worked great. It's caught some giant fish for me. And I want to go ahead and share that with you guys because it's winter and fishing can be tough. And if you're brave enough to go out in the cold and get yourself some frostbite in the mix, then you can go out and have some luck on this fly. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. This is a size 16 curved shank hook, scud hook, and I have a silver bead on here. This is one of the few flies I like to use silver beads with, whereas all my other nymphs I usually use gold or black, or no bead at all. And you can add extra weight to this by using wire or lead wraps behind the bead, or you can get rid of the bead and I'll use a UV bubble, I guess you could say, to build a head at the front. Whatever your preference is. I like the bead just to give me a little bit of weight and help me keep down in the current. For a lot of our tailwaters, there's some pockets that you're trying to fish or behind rocks and you need to get down quickly. So without further ado, let's go and get started. I'm going to take my red thread. This is all you need is red thread and a single strand of Flashabou. Not sure how well you can see this Flashabou, but you can use Flashabou, some flashback material, whatever you have really that's reflective. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. So make your first couple wraps to trap your thread to get started. Boom, go ahead and trim off your tag end like so. And I'm gonna go ahead and go back up towards the bead now. And what I'm doing here is I'm building a taper to the body. So what's a good rule of thumb is to go 1/3 of the way down and then come back to the bead, go 2/3 of the way down, back to the bead, then do your full body length, and that'll build a nice taper. So that was the first third. Now I'm gonna go 2/3 of the way down, right around there. Now come back up to the bead, and then go all the way down. And that just helps build a nice taper to the body. Once again, with Rainbow Warriors and flies like this, you need to keep the body slim. That's kind of their iconic look, is a very slim body with dubbing usually built up behind the head. And so I'm gonna go ahead and take my flashback, tie it in. Doesn't matter if you play it on top or on the side. I prefer using it, laying it down on the side closest to me. Just a personal preference. And then go ahead and spin your bobbin counterclockwise, and that's just gonna help flatten it out. And that way as I come forward, I can get some nice smooth, flat wraps up to the bead. From here, you simply wrap the entire body in this flashback material, and you can build up a nice little layer at the very bottom of the fly, at the very back end at the curve, which is what I typically do. I usually do 2 to 3 wraps before I even start coming up the fly. And a lot of times you can just put your finger on the back of the hook to hold it in place after each wrap before you move forward. It makes it a lot easier so you're not, slipping with the flashback and losing all your wraps, which happens all the time, and especially when you're going fast. So this fly is very simple. You can do it both with UV resin over the body and without UV resin over the body. I like to use UV resin just for the durability aspect of it. I don't really find that it makes much of a difference in terms of success, but it does add a little bit more durability, whether you're using UV resin, some hard as nails, or just simple super glue. Whatever you have really to help, but anything is better than nothing. And for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and do UV resin over the body, just because I know I'm gonna be fishing in a very rocky area and I could use some of that durability, that extra durability the UV resin is gonna offer. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that once I get to the very front of the fly. I like to over wrap the flashback more than I need. And I'm gonna go ahead and tie it off now. I do usually a wrap or two in front of the material and a wrap behind it. When you go on both sides of the material, it traps it. It's not gonna unwrap. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take some, so you could actually fish the fly just like that and call it good, whip finish, be done. Just for a little bit of extra, I like to use some muskrat grade dubbing, some fine grade dubbing. This isn't necessary. You can use whatever color dubbing you prefer. I just find that a light gray or a white color works really well with this fly and looks very, very good too. So all I did was take a small pinch of the dubbing, put it on my thread, twist and twist in the same direction until it's tight around the thread. And now I have a nice chunk of dubbing to work with. As you can see right there, build up a nice little ball of dubbing behind the bead. I'm gonna whip finish. I don't have my whip finish tool with me, so I'm just gonna use my fingers. Always make sure after you whip finish, if you don't do it more than once, or even if you do, to seat the knot. So I always come up and tighten down on the thread. Depending on what size thread you're using, don't pull too hard. You don't want to snap it and undo your whip finish. Do it all the time, and it really sucks because it's the end of your fly that you just broke off and you have to restart with. So what I have now is I have some thin UV resin here. I just like the thin because it's going to spread quickly, and all I'm trying to do is coat the body here. My red UV resin is very dirty, so excuse that, but go ahead and do that. And I'll take, I usually have a needle or a bobbin of some kind to do this, but right now I'm just going to take an old beat up woolly bugger hook and use that to spread the UV resin out, smooth it out. And you can get the dubbing wet with the glue or not, it's really up to you. But now I'm just going to hit it with the UV light real quick. Set that UV resin in place, like so. Make sure you get in every direction. Doesn't take that long for the UV resin to set. And once you feel comfortable and it's no longer tacky, you're good to go. And that is my variation of the Rainbow Warrior.